Joining us now, my friend, Congressman Tim Burchett, literally on the road with the family campaigning on this last day before the big election. Tim, nice to see you, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, Dan. Just left a gun store, and we've had so many people early vote. That just seems to be the constant thing. I've already voted, which is a good thing, which is good, of course, but election day's tomorrow. 2 ways to run, scared and unopposed. And I sure hope people aren't taking this thing for granted, because it's, as I've stated many times, and you and I have talked about, you got to put so many points on the board, they can't steal it from us.
That's the key. When you're talking to these people, Tim, at least in your district, did they vote with the ballot and then go turn it in like Team Trump was saying? Or did they vote early on a machine? Because I did mine today in Cali, but I took my actual ballot, filled it out, sealed it, licked it, everything, walked in. I said, let me see the bag. I'm not doing a drop box. And I had them hold up the election bag with the little lock and key, and I put it in and they locked it. And then I said, okay, now I know my vote will count, God willing.
Yeah. Well, in Tennessee, we have a little different system. Our Secretary of State's a guy named Trey Hargett. I served in the legislature with him. He is, as they say, clean as a hound's tooth, and that's very clean if you don't know what that means. But he is, he's a very. I had a lunch with him a couple of days, sometime last week. It's all kind of running together, but we run ours a little different. They're not connected by computer to any downtown computer. There's no way to hack them. You'd have to hack each individual machine, which I wouldn't put it past some of these dirt bags. But Tennessee has they've been awarded the safest elections in the country. And that's why a lot of the Democrat and the blue states do not want him up there advising them and showing the errors of their way, because he's got a really clean system, and it's working well for this country. I'll know polls closed at 8, and it's not uncommon for me to know the results by 8:15. But with the large vote turnout that we've had, we've had in some of these precincts, or excuse me, some of the counties that I represent, we've had a 20% increase just in the early voting, but it's a 20% increase over the total votes of the last time. So, we're already up huge numbers, and you're seeing the.
Tim, sorry, do you know who those voters are? Because the ones I've been seeing from Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia, those early voter numbers that are up way higher than before and down are Republicans, and the Democrats are down when it comes to the early votes in almost all 3 or 4 of these battleground states. Are you hearing the same in Tennessee?
Well, I'm hearing that, but there's no way to verify that, because they don't in Tennessee. You don't vote by party; you just vote by person.
Oh, gotcha.
So, but what we're seeing is in the areas that you would normally see, like my rural counties, where I will win sometimes 60, 75, 80% of the vote. You're seeing those numbers through the roof. My campaign manager, I call him the mulleted one. He's got a nice mullet, a business in the front, party in the back, Thomas McAfee. And he is single, by the way. I would warn everyone out there, all the people with children, with ladies in their family of his age. But he was number 4,000 way back on early voting, and Dan, they didn't even vote 4,000 their entire election that the year prior, or the last presidential election.
Turnout is up for Republicans.
It's up,
period.
And the votes. But one thing we do know is the age of the voters. 55 and up are through the roof. They are through the roof, and that's generally bodes well for conservatives,
yes, Republicans,
Donald J. Trump, et cetera, as you know.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that up all across the board, and across Tennessee. You're seeing in the rural areas, it's up. It's up everywhere, but it's up smaller amounts in areas that have urban or inner cities, if you will. Chattanooga, you're seeing in Nashville, Memphis, for instance, they're up a little bit, but they're down compared to the other areas of the state. So that generally bodes well for conservatives as well. But one interesting thing I've noticed, Dan, I'm at the polls and I'm working the polls at early voting, and guys with man buns are coming up and talking to me and telling me they voted for me and taking a picture. First-time voters, Hispanic voters, black voters, they'll stop their car and get out and bring their family over to see me. And this is the one great indicator I have is I usually get birds flipped at me, even when I'm running unopposed. This time I've only had one person flip a bird at me, and they were just trying to impress their lady friend, and it obviously didn't go very well for them. But that's the truth. I mean, I don't know what kind of indicator, what statistics that is, but that's My gosh, these people, they got their head down and they're ready to vote.
Well,
And I'm looking forward to it.
Tim, I'll tell you a similar story. This past weekend, had my big, large autographed MAGA hat on, and I wore it around Southern California, both Saturday and Sunday, to church, out to brunch, out shopping, driving around. And I only had some gum spit on my car when I came back from lunch. So I would assume one person didn't like Trump. But other than that, I had a dozen people at all those locations either say, I love your hat, thumbs up, right on, MAGA, Trump, I get a horn honk, whatever. So not that that's an accurate poll in Southern California, but I'll take it. Let's talk down ballot real fast before you get back on the road. House seats,
Sure.
How are they looking? You heard the numbers I gave, 24 possible up for grabs. 20 of them could go either way, but 4 or 5 will solidify. That means we should hold the House, but I think we need obviously to take a bigger gain there. And then how's the Senate looking? Because here's the races we're watching really closely. West Virginia, Montana, Ohio, and Arizona. Let's talk Senate and House. Take it, Tim.
Okay. West Virginia, of course, coal. They've been decimated since the Obama years, and they'll continue to be decimated. I think they realize the writing's on the wall. Ohio, another big energy state. I think they realize it too. I think the Democrats are downplaying the intelligence of the American voter. They're seeing out of pocket the $600. Now it's up to some areas $1,200 to $1,300 a month. They're paying just to survive, and they're not buying this stuff about how we're going to tax business. Because you know what happens when you tax a guy that owns a beer distributor? He puts another nickel on a dadgum can of beer, and Americans pay more out of pocket. Working men and women understand that, and I think that's going to translate. Now, in the House, of course, I just can't imagine people seeing what's going on in this country broke down into the individual congressional districts, how they could go any other way. Like my buddy Scott Perry, they're spending a ton of money trying to beat him, and he's a great conservative. He is a great conservative. He's military. He questions he questions when the Republicans are doing as well as the Democrats, and they're going after him. I've heard this saying before, and I'm gonna say it again. But when you're over the target, that's when you're firing the most. That's why they're turning out all these lunatics, from Hollywood and all that crowd. And just the far left is just pulling their hair out because they realize they could be losing control. And one more analogy, my dad used to give me this when I was a little boy. I said, well, Daddy, I don't believe that all these, these Hollywood types and all these big shots are communist. And why would they do that? And he goes, well, buddy, look in Russia right now and who drives the big cars and has the nice places. It's the people that are in control, and that's what they're after. They're after the control, and this bunch is so far to the left, they want to destroy this country for what we have. And I just don't think America's buying it anymore. They're tired of it. That's why you're seeing more Hispanic. I had lunch with a Hispanic fella, came here legally, him and his wife, beautiful, beautiful people. And I said, why do you all support Trump? He goes, he's a billionaire, Tim. And I said, but he's cocky. I said, all the things the left says about him. He said, but he can back it up. And his wife said, I love Donald Trump. And they love the American dream, brother.
They do.
And they realize it. They came from poverty and despair, and they don't want it over here. That's why when all these Yankees move down here, everybody complains about it. Dadgum, I love it. They're more conservative than I am. And they don't care. And they say, look, we know what you got. We know what we left. We don't want that down here. And we're going to fight to keep it that way. And that's pretty cool. So I dig that. I think America's, if we can just realize what Washington, D.C. is trying to do. And I want to warn some people, too. My buddy Jamie Raskin, he's my friend. I don't agree with him on anything. He got cancer. I prayed for him. He's my friend. But look, when he says, I will not seat Donald Trump if we have the majority, believe him. Yeah. Believe him.
Exactly. And you know what? That's very statesman of you to do that. I mean, think about what he just said, folks. We despise Jamie Raskin for his votes, for what he said about not wanting to certify Donald Trump when he wins. Yet, look at Tim. Man enough, statesman-like enough to say he had cancer. I prayed for him. He's been a friend. Don't agree with him on anything, but I'm not going to go there. That's the kind of leaders that we need. Tim Burchett, we know you're going to win. Thanks, brother, for coming on. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Love you, brother. Thank you.
Be good.